Fernandez, and my number one title is I am a mom. I'm a single mom of four. I'm the founder and creator of thepositivemom.com, and I'm a strategist. I call myself a story strategist and a storyteller. I think you know that, as well as a student of pain. Hi, Stacy.
Hi, how are
I'm
you?
doing great. So, everyone wants to know how you're doing
Uh,
because we've been waiting for you. I'm so excited that you're joining.
I like to build the anticipation. That's my style. um, I'm wonderful, and I'm really excited to be here and get to meet some of your community.
Yes, so excited. Oh my gosh. Let's get started.
Yeah, so I'm happy to introduce myself really quick.
Please.
I'm COO of Playwire, so we help website owners monetize their content. And I think one of the most incredible things that has given me the most joy in the last year of my life is getting to watch independent creators build sustainable revenue streams that maybe mean they can, quit their real job and just enjoy their side gig, or continue to build their business to a level that they weren't in the past. So being a part of that journey is one of the most rewarding things I've had the privilege of being a part of.
That's amazing. I love it so much. And you know that saying, a queen is never late. Everybody else is just extra early.
It is really funny timing. I did an interview this morning for a podcast called Queens of Tech. So I feel very queen today.
Yes, Your Majesty. Okay.
Normally my kids really remind me that I'm the servant.
I know. As a mom, I can relate to that.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I'm super interested to talk more about, your journey as a creator, as well as talk through what we've seen when we've worked with creators from the monetization side. Happy to answer questions that you might have or that your audience might have around monetization. So I would love to start out with, what are your biggest hurdles you've come across as a creator?
Oh my. This is something that we were talking about, you and I discussing before. And one of the things that I've been thinking about really, I would say intentionally since we discussed this, is having been blogging for 20 years, creating content not only on social media, but also on my blog, and seeing the different platforms that come and go. One of the things that I've seen that has stayed consistent is how much time it takes and how much burnout can come into place. And one of the things that happened early on is that I was so in love with my business and I wanted so much, like you said, to transition from a full-time job that I didn't like and that didn't really fill my soul
Mm-hmm.
to making this full time for me and to feel like I had freedom, and yet I was working more than ever. I burned myself out. I ended up being diagnosed with cancer, and just feeling that it was just too much. So I think, one of the things that I did early on was to reevaluate my boundaries as a creator and as a business entrepreneur, and to allow myself to also lean into support and to find partners who could take on things that I could delegate, but also that they are more brilliant at doing than I am. Because, one of the surprises, and for me, I'm a nerd, I'm an SEO, I just love everything about the web. So that was an easy transition for me, but there are so many aspects about running a business besides creating the content. And with monetization, everything also adds on. So I think, that was the number one thing, is the challenge of having to do it all yourself, or
Mm-hmm.
thinking that you have to do it all yourself.
Well,
But
that's not a mom characteristic or anything, is it?
That, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's a mom, and also, as you know, I in my blog I focus on moms who have been through trauma. It's also
Mhm.
a trauma response.
Yeah.
So that it's something definitely that all of us can relate to, is trying to do it all alone, and to trying to do it all perfectly as well. But I have a question for you now,
Yeah.
because I want to make sure that everybody gets to know you. And I know that you help us creators monetize our content, which is something that I've seen consistently across the board, is that a lot of people are creating, but they're not monetizing. And that, really takes a toll on motivation. And a lot of people have left the industry because they didn't get the results that they wanted. So, what are some of the things that you think they should be considering when comparing monetization providers, and how do you come into place? Because you've been doing this for 15 years. I mean, Playwire has been around for a long time providing this support, and I want to hear all about it.
Yeah, I mean, just a really super short version of our history. Playwire has been around for about 17
Okay.
years in the space. Um, yeah, quite a while. We started out as what I would call a managed service provider. Back in the day, that is the way you supported with monetization, and you just say, "Hey, I'm going to run your Google account for you. I'll put ads on your page. I'll handle it, soup to nuts." And then over time, we've built this very powerful platform that really powers the engine behind the monetization that we do. And I'd say what's really interesting about our journey, we started out in the gaming space, and then we've slowly jumped from industry to industry, and bringing these cool learnings from our start to one industry after the next. And I'd say really what makes us unique is finding that balance between providing you with best practices and the standardization that gets you started from the right foundation, but then providing that really high touch customer service and the ability to customize your strategy to your unique audience, right? Like the way I would say it's something similar to is the difference between like a babysitter and a nanny, right? So
I
like
like it.
if
I
we're
like
talking about moms, we might as well use things we can all relate to. A babysitter, you're like, hey, I need you to come here for a couple hours, and I just need you to like keep my kids alive. Just it's fine. And like there's probably a bench of 6 to 8 babysitters you might be fine with coming over and babysitting for a few hours. But if you had the need for like a nanny, you want that person to understand you want for the experience they're going to give your kids, like what you need from them, and you want them to provide whatever you would provide if they weren't there as a parent,
I
right?
love
um, yeah, so you need somebody who's willing to invest in understanding, and they're not going to give you some kind of like cookie cutter service. They actually care deeply about making sure that what you want is executed on page if we're talking about a website again. So I really what we bring to it, and our growth has been really interesting in that we've not tried to be the answer for everyone. We've started with one industry and we figure out the needs of that industry, and we build something that works really well for them, and then we move to them. So when I joined Playwire, I was the entry into the mom creator space, right? Because I come from the background of marketing, SEO, and content creation, and then I also happen to understand moms, being one
Yes,
myself. So
yes.
so I've been really focused on how do we serve the vertical that you live in and make sure we're building things that are really unique and customized to the audiences that you serve.
And I just switched to Playwire
Big
today.
day.
Today.
Oh, big day.
And yeah, I can attest to that custom nanny service that you're talking about, because and it's so fitting, because my blog is my baby, and I can't even, think about it that it's turning 20 this year, because we really see as a, whether we're writing a book, whether we're, making a project, whether we're writing on a blog where we have our social media platforms, those are our babies, and we really care about them because we put so much love and effort into it. And I've been meeting with my account manager at Playwire, and she's been just so helpful in treating this baby with so much tender care, and just answering every question so thoroughly and patiently and holding my hand. So even though my experience with the on page, as you said, just started today, my experience with Playwire started, a few weeks ago, and we've been just consistently working together and just feeling that high touch that you're talking about. So I definitely can't say enough things about my ad nanny. She is the best.
That's what we're gonna start calling our kids.
I love it. You see, Brooke is sending us hearts about that. So definitely, I love it. It's just being incredible. And we were talking about that, like getting help to go farther, faster. That was Tiffany that said that.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is exactly what we do. I do see a comment. Can you
Yeah.
explain what nanny services
Yeah.
entail? That's a big question. I won't answer the version of taking care of children. I'll answer the version of taking care of babies,
Yes.
which is our job is to serve ads on sites. So we all have website owners come to us. They put our code on page. We have a platform and a set of account managers that work directly with you to get your ad strategy set up. And what I would say the services entail is a combination of the strategic recommendations up front, and ongoing throughout your relationship, right? If there's ways we think we can continue to improve that, like very delicate balance, frankly, that you guys have to walk between the goals of monetization, making revenue from ads, and then the goals of making sure you're creating the right user experience and you're not overloading them with ads to the point where that's getting in the way of their experience. So it's really a tightrope if you think about it. So our job is to help build the strategy to walk that tightrope, maximize your ability to generate revenue while still keeping your audience as happy as possible, and then potentially introduce new and unique ways for you to do that. We have a pretty hefty direct sales team, which means we'll bring in really interesting advertiser relationships with very custom integrations. So these are things like site skins and stuff that you probably saw in the gaming industry way back when, but has never really been something that could be a part of your strategy on the blogging side. And so we're bringing some of those really cool, unique activations that brands get really excited about, and are willing to pay a lot of money to the creators who serve those. So we help both from a strategic perspective and then a technical perspective. So the goal is that it's easy for you. Once it's up and running, we're making sure everything is working the way it should on the back end. And you guys can go focus on content creation, on SEO, on the things that you're really good at. And you're not having to think about, oh my gosh, like what happened with my revenue? One SSP somewhere down the line stopped bidding. It's a needle in a haystack, and that's not very fun to make you search through. So you guys get to go focus on the things that are fun.
Absolutely. And I can tell you that all of those things I've experienced them firsthand, and I am really excited and happy about it, which is why I want to make sure that everyone in my community can hear about Playwire. And I have a blog post that explains exactly what Playwire helps you do. And also, we are going to be, you can go to playwire.com, right?
Yeah.
Can they?
I've had a unique and strange journey in my career within Playwire specifically. So as I mentioned, my background was marketing and content creation. So SEO nerding out, I can do all day. That would be hours of a live. So we shouldn't go down that rabbit hole, but if you want to, I would love to.
Yeah.
But I actually started on the marketing side at Playwire, and one of the things that I was heavily focused on at that time was building out a lot of educational content for people who were just getting started in monetization. So it's a great resource if it's new for you, or if you have questions and you just want to go learn. If probably more than you even care to know. If you want to dive into the intricacies of header bidding, you can, or you don't have to also if you would like someone to do that for you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I love about it. You can get as involved as you want and, as detached as you need.
Our goal is to kind of scale to where you are as a publisher, right? So I think we see a lot of people who start out in what we would call, like they identify themselves as a creator, but advance into this place where they're actually like a full-on publisher, right? You're commanding the same page views as like a magazine site, right? So I think sometimes creators don't give themselves enough credit for how much they're contributing back to the space.
Absolutely. I love that because, it's really key to have a partner that supports you and has that vision for you. And I think it's like many of us started as a way to, for me especially, as a way to kind of process feelings or share tips or, really as a hobby. And so to transition and understand that this could be a full-on business and that there are many monetization avenues, it's really mind-blowing
Mm-hmm.
when you realize it. And like you said, having someone that knows the industry, and also has a vast access to other sites can really be really key in expanding our perspective and understanding what's possible. So I really love that.
Yeah, I mean, as a group, you guys are an economic force. I think that maybe you don't even give yourself credit for. The audiences that female focused sites deliver to advertisers are the single most valued out of any vertical that exists. I don't know if anybody here knows that. You guys are worth way more advertising dollars than most.
Oh my gosh, put an H in the chat if that was helpful to you, because it definitely was helpful to me. I love it. Yeah, thank you so much, Stacy. That's really powerful.
Of course, of course. I would say too, the other really important thing to keep in mind is that as you mentioned, scale is really important. So we talked about the fact that you guys are an economic force as a group. The problem for advertisers on the other side of that is the fracturing of their strategy across 60 sites makes it really hard for them to manage the pieces. And so what's nice is we can collect that giant economic force into a single, and then advertisers just want to throw money into it because it's easier than what they have to do otherwise. They can say, I'm going all to one place, give me this entire audience. And so it opens up the size of deals that aren't available often on a site by site basis. And so it's a wonderful coexistence and partnership where we can bring some of that to each one of you guys and then spread the wealth.
Love it. I love it. And Tatiana was asking you to repeat, why are we a force? That little piece.
So as a subset, the vertical that you sit in, and so I imagine a lot of the listeners here as well, female focused sites tend to drive the highest in the advertising industry. We call them CPMs, right? It's essentially the unit price advertisers will pay to reach that audience. So almost more than any other vertical or industry industry section. So there's gaming, there's entertainment, there's female focused. Far and away, female focus gets the highest bids.
Yes. I love it. Yes, absolutely. I have another question for you. Why is advertising such a significant monetization track? So not only for female driven, but for everyone, why consider ads?
So I would say it's really going to depend on how you stack rank all of your revenue driving strategies. And so it's going to be really unique to each individual business. So a lot of times the type of site you have and the type of content you create is going to dictate that, right? If I think, Elayna, you, for example, you've got a lot of the services that if somebody's interested in working with you from a consulting perspective, they can do that. And so that's a revenue stream. But then sites that are maybe like forums, for instance, where it's meant to be a community where people just come and interact with each other. And often in that case, ads are the only form of revenue that you might derive from running that site. So it's going to be super dependent on the content that you create. So ads could rank from, hey, this is a nice little revenue stream that just adds to my existing bottom line, to this is the sole earning power that I have. And it's so specific to each site. It's hard to say how important it is unless you're looking at an individual.
I love that. And, usually the people that tune into my audience are people who are really providing amazing content on their websites, and they are looking to monetize because they want either an extra stream of income for their family or they're the only provider, kind of like, I'm a single mom. So, diversifying your income is really key, because then you don't have all of your, do they call it, eggs in one basket?
Yep.
My English is not very good looking sometimes.
Well,
But I always tell people that there's a litmus test for useful content, and I have 5 questions that or for effective content that you can monetize, and I have 5 questions that you can ask yourself. Number one is it focused? And so I think that speaks to what you were talking about with regard to what audience are you talking to, and what do they want, which is the second part. Is it consistent? So are you consistently creating content on your website? The third, is it helpful? So you always want to create something helpful that people want to go to, so they're always learning something, they're always taking something away from it. So they don't mind the ads, they actually want to contribute to you, and they're like, bring on all the ads, because I know that helps her grow her empire. And then and then the fourth one, let me see if I remember this. Okay, so focus, consistent, helpful, authentic is the fourth one.
Yep.
Which is so important. And then the fifth part is a strategic. And I think this is why I'm sharing this, is because I want you to talk about how important is a strategy when it comes to monetization.
Yeah. So the answer is incredibly. The single most important factor that will determine how much you can make from ads is going to be the strategy for your ad layout. Essentially, where you choose to put ads on page and what different units that you have in your arsenal. That essentially be the make or break, or the difference between making a lot and making a little. And so understanding how to, first of all, how to navigate the millions of tiny things you could choose to tweak from a technical perspective. So there's things like there are rules where you can refresh an ad for 30 seconds, and there's so many little intricacies of things you can do beyond just putting an ad on page that are really that a monetization solution usually just kind of takes off your plate. The place where the strategy tends to overlap very heavily with you as the creator is the locations for ads on page. And so there's definitely a give and take of what can I do with my website layout to make the right placements for ads that are both effective at generating revenue, but aren't going to be overly intrusive to the user. And then there's the dialing in of how splashy and big can I make this ad that would make the user comfortable. And that's where we come to some of those more custom activations we talked about, like site skins. Yeah. And usually if you can find a great alignment between brand and audience, where the audience is actually very interested in learning more about the brand, they love those super custom activations, and it's not intrusive to their experience. And so it's finding those little nuggets of gold. And in every other case, just again, taking that balance, right? And understanding your audience, because your audience might have a very different feeling about an ad than somebody else's audience. And so we do help each site kind of dial in where they fit on that spectrum.
I love that. And given that, because I know that you help with all of those little pieces. So even if you felt overwhelmed with what Stacy just shared, it's like, you don't have to worry about it, because you're going to be walked step by step. But one thing that I wanted to say is, like, how do we prepare for that strategy and to know what's coming? And I see that Tatiana also has a question in the chat.
Yeah. So I would say the biggest things to think about with like preparing to jump in is, if you aren't running ads right now, it's really great sometimes to go look at sites that you know of that you frequent that run ads, and see what the placements are. And you'll find, like, when you go to a site you normally frequent looking for content,
The positive mom? The positive mom, maybe?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
They'll also fabulous out as an example, just in case you're wondering. But no, it's going to sites that you would frequent that have ads on them, and like looking at some of the placements they have and thinking through your experience as a user on that site. Like, did that interrupt me? Nope. I knew it was there. I saw it. Like maybe I scrolled right past it. Maybe I actually interacted with it because I'm interested in the brand. That's usually the easiest way to start getting your toes in the water if you're not running ads today on your own site. And then if you are running ads today on your own site, there's a lot of different metrics you can take into account. There's revenue focused metrics that tell you how much your ads are earning. But then there's user engagement metrics that show you how your audience is engaging with your ads. I highly recommend, if you've never gotten click tracking software, to use a tool like Microsoft Clarity. It's totally free. And it'll basically give you click and scroll maps, which kind of show you on the page how people are interacting with your content. If they seem to like stop because they're running into an ad, if they're clicking on an ad by accident, you can start to see some of these behaviors and some of the ways people are interacting with your site. That's really valuable to collect.
Oh, that is such a hot tip. So put an H for hot in the chat. and so did you see Tatiana's question there?
Does this apply to personal websites or YouTube? So what we're talking about usually with placement and layout is all focused on personal websites. YouTube monetization tends to be taken care of by YouTube itself, right? They'll place ads in there. Those are what we would call pre-content or mid-roll ads. Those it strategically places in between pieces of content. So if you're already using YouTube, YouTube's kind of putting all monetization in for you. Now, if you host video on your site in a similar format to YouTube, that's one of the things that we've done with plenty of our publishers is inject pre-content, mid-roll ads, things like that. We even do it in gaming and tool environments. So if you have a calculator, you can put it in front of it, similar type, but YouTube usually takes care of it for you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's so powerful. I think that we're about to wrap up. So if you have any questions whatsoever, look at all the flames that you're covering here, like a lot of flames. So if anybody has a question, please post it now or forever. No, just kidding. You can also contact me, DM Playwire Official. Remember the official, or DM the Positive Mom, and we can definitely help you. But if you have a question right now, make sure that you post it in the comments below so that we can answer it live, because why not? Why not? We're here. So excited to have this conversation with you.
This was great. I really enjoyed the back and forth, and I always love the moments of my day where I get to interact directly with our publishers, our content creators that are on the front. It's what gets me very excited.
Yeah, it's really tough. Oh, there's Tatiana. Yeah, go ahead.
So the amount that each website can earn from their audience is highly dependent on two primary factors. It's going to be how many page views or sessions that you get on a monthly basis, and then your vertical. As I mentioned, your guys' vertical tends to command more money than plenty of others. So we actually have a website, or an article on our website that says how much money can my revenue, or how much revenue can my website generate, and it goes through and gives you some tranches. Like if your website page views are between this number and this number, you can expect somewhere in the neighborhood of X. If you just Google, as you can tell, SEO nerd here, if you just Google how much revenue can my website make, you'll find how much ad revenue can make.
I'm loving that. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. Yes, one of the things that as I shared earlier with, interacting with my account manager, is how much I've loved that experience. But my experience with the entire Playwire team has been just so delightful. And, chatting with you, Stacy, has been just really great. And, Courtney, Tiffany, Olivia, Ashley, like there are so many people that are in your corner helping you and making sure that you get the most out of your experience, not only monetarily, but I think, as content creators, we put a lot of our heart and our vulnerability, and it's really emotionally draining sometimes, especially when you get trolls or you don't know if you're sharing too much, if you're sharing enough. And so having a team behind you that can support you in the things that you need support is just really key, and I highly recommend it. So I'm really grateful that you decided to do this live. because
Okay.
that's just
And
really,
next time we can nerd out on SEO.
I love that. It's a date. It's a date. Okay, well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Any last words of wisdom, Stacy?
I mean, I would just say if you do have more questions that pop up on your journey as you're learning, our website, like we said, is a great reference for a lot of the common questions we've been asked. But if you come across something that you're always welcome to find. Either you can reach out to us on DM, like was already suggested. You can go to the contact form on our site, submit questions. Like we're here to provide answers, and we're here to support. And then always, like, feel free to find me on LinkedIn and shoot me questions at random. I'm happy to do it.
I love that. And tell him your name, Stacy Willis, Playwire.
At Playwire. That's me. Like the first Stacy Willis that pops up if you LinkedIn me. Thanks.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful rest of your week and start making that money.
Thank you.